So from the slides, we can take a look at how this is going to be set up and walk through a demo of how Eyeglass SD Edition can push configuration data out to IsilonSD edge clusters. So here we can see the visual view. We see two clusters in this configuration. One's the core cluster and one is the edge cluster. So we've got a job definition that's designed to push out the configuration from a template out to the SD edge cluster and then protect it with SyncIQ. So if we take a look at the cluster configuration, we can see IGLS template. That's the template we're going to use to clone out to the edge site and then protect it. But we also want to protect that data into an access zone on the core cluster, and that's this one here, IGLS replication. EMC 8-SIM1 is the name of the access zone that will protect that remote cluster. You can of course build more than one template. You could protect multiple sites with a single replication access zone in the core. So if we take a look at this access zone, we've got some shares in it. We could have some exports as well. And in addition, we could also put data into this template and push a standard set of data out to the edge site. On the edge, we're going to see how the automation will tear down and rebuild this environment. So we've got a policy here. Take a look at SyncIQ on the core. There's a policy here right now. So let's go ahead and run this job and do a deployment out to the edge. So the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to tear down or clean up the edge policies. So we'll just do a refresh here on these two tabs. So no policy at the edge. So we did a cleanup. And we're going to go ahead and start the deployment. So this automation, you can actually watch it here. It's going to take that template. It's going to copy all of the configuration it finds into the replication access zone. That's where we're going to protect the data. It's then going to build a SyncIQ policy. It's also going to replicate the share and the configuration data out to the edge cluster, copy the data, set up DFS mode, shares, exports get synced to the edge, and protection gets set up automatically back to that core replication policy. So we can see that that's happening right now. And we'll go ahead and run that policy because we have to protect the data out to the edge. And that's what's running right now. So let's just take a quick look. The policy is not yet created. It takes a few minutes to do this. Once this has been deployed, the intention is that you could make updates to your template and have only those changes synced out to that remote edge cluster. So if you add shares, change share permissions, add additional files, that could also be synchronized out to all of the clusters that were built from that template. You can also have more than one template and build different edge sites with a different template depending what your needs are. So this actually executes a failover because we actually want to fail over the data from the core to the edge, and that also tests that the automation in the failover is going to function as we expect it to. And that is once again using DFS mode. You can see that being configured here. Just check in on the edge policy. And this is our policy. It's going to replicate this data back to our central site and catch that data in that replication access zone that was built from the template. And it's done. So 2 minutes, we've built our edge site. If I want to go build another one, you would configure it so that you could push out the same template to another edge cluster and so on. If I wanted to select that edge cluster and fail it back to the core, oops, selected the wrong one. I would select my edge site, check for open files, next, and run the failover. That's it. So this is how you would actually build an edge site, push data, push configuration, keep it in sync, and it's ready for failover, fail back to the core data center. We're also introducing the ability to manage the storage on remote clusters. So of course space is important to manage. So here you can see we can capture some of this information centrally. As you add more sites, you can get a quick snapshot of which sites are having storage consumption growth. Our intention is to build up the feature set here as well and have things like triggers and things that indicate if your remote site might be running out of space soon and trending in prediction. You can now track your cluster configurations with cluster reports. So for all these edge sites, you can check consistency, that the configuration is the way it should be. Also document your edge sites, run a cluster report. This scans all the configuration data, settings, shares exports, snapshot schedules, IP pools. All this information can now be captured for all of your remote sites with IsilonSD and Isilon clusters in the core. And there we go. There's our cluster report. These are also generated nightly on a schedule. In addition, we can use Eyeglass's ability to aggregate all of your cluster events from all your SD sites and then export that to a central log analysis tool like Splunk, VMware Log Insight, or something else. That's also possible. And we've also introduced CA Technologies UIM probe, so you can now integrate fully all of your IsilonSD edge sites and alarm status information and DR status into CA UIM's management product.